I'll wait till you get people in. Well, for those of you who have joined us already, I'm sure others are getting let in by our producer, Carolyn. Welcome to, this is 10:30, so it's time for Brainstorming the Human Connection, brought to you by South Dakota Humanities Council. They do a lot of different things, and they have an extraordinary staff that helps them do all of those things. And so we're going to be meeting that staff and finding out what they do and what the South Dakota Humanities Council does. And I hope in the process of that, give many of you some ideas about how you might better support the South Dakota Humanities Council. And we have their whole staff on that's with us today to answer all the different kind of questions. Some of you have met them before, and so they are sort of companions to this program. Some of them are often here, but you never see their faces. They're hidden. And then some of them, they are not around that much because they are not normally in the office or something like that. Various things. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to let Carol start off the introductions. And basically what we'll do is, once you get the 50,000-foot view of what each person does and cumulatively what the South Dakota Humanities Council does, then we will open it up to questions and comments, so that by the end of this program, you will have a pretty good idea of not only what the Humanities Council does, but how you might better interact with it, and also help spread the message of what they're doing. So Carolyn, why don't you get us started?
All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Carolyn Marshall Speakman. I have been with the Humanities Council going on 11 years now, and I am the office manager. So I sit in front of the door and I answer most of the calls. I am just going to admit this person. So the South Dakota Humanities Council was founded in 1972. It was started with an act of Congress. There is a Humanities Council in every state. And in South Dakota, we are the only cultural organization whose sole mission is to deliver humanities programming. Our core mission is to celebrate literature, promote civil conversation, and tell the stories that define our state. Our vision is to lead statewide advocacy for the humanities, working with other partners to foster literacy and civic engagement. Our logo, our emblem, if I'll show it, most of you probably know what it looks like. And I'll just give you a little history of that. The seed in its shell emblem is the creation of industrial designer Henry Dreyfuss, who undertook on his own to provide the National Endowment for the Humanities with a symbol of its work. Dreyfuss, recipient of a small endowment planning grant for a dictionary of symbols, finds that languages created with symbols are proliferating and are an important part of the contemporary world. In explanation of his design for Humanities Council, he wrote, "The thing that kept coming back to my mind was the fact that you are an organization that plants a seed which grows and grows and grows." So that's just a little bit about our history and where we come from. And I'm going to turn it over to Executive Director Ann Ballman.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, and thanks for joining. It's kind of odd to be in this situation where you have to talk about yourself and what you do every day. It's not something that we necessarily think about. But I am delighted to say that I'm the Executive Director at the South Dakota Humanities Council. I've been here since December 1st, 2018. And I am glad to be part of this organization that has been in South Dakota for 50 years now and moving onward. It's just the happiest thing in the world that we get to try to figure out how to provide different humanities programs to South Dakota in different ways. There's ways that we've been doing them that we want to keep doing going forward. There's new things that we're going to add. We always want to figure out how to be as responsive and have as many ways of reaching out to people as we can. So what I do is I work with this great staff. And when I come to work in the morning, I think that's what makes me happiest, is that I'm working with people who are professional, who are dedicated to doing good things with humanities, and who like working with people, whether they're a librarian calling up to ask for a book club to be held there, or an individual asking about whether or not they can have a speakers bureau person come, or an organization saying, hey, we could use a grant to bring in this really great speaker series throughout the state. I like working with the board of directors, working with our volunteers. I'm especially grateful for the other Humanities Council's executive directors. It's a really great group of people who share ideas and do everything they can to help support each other in all the different states as we're providing humanities. It's not only each state, but it's also 5 territories plus the District of Columbia. So the humanities in the United States have a broad reach, and here we are doing our best from corner to corner in South Dakota to do all the programs and help everybody out in the best way we can, because as Carolyn said with our emblem, we like to plant that seed and do what we can to help see the humanities start growing. I'm used to doing a lot of writing, and that fits in with what I do. And I'm really happy for the chance to get to talk to people as well. So I have a wonderful breadth of things that I do in my work here each day. I am looking at one of our staff members who's next to me on the grid, Melinda, and she'll start filling me in about what she does with the major grants programs.
Hi,
I don't think we can
everybody.
hear you. There we go.
Yeah, my name is Melinda Berjanier, and I'm the grants coordinator for the South Dakota Humanities Council. And I started about, I guess it was about a month before Ian came. So that's when I started. We've been here since the end of 2018. So my job, like I said, I'm the grants coordinator, and every year we provide federal funding in 3 competitive grant categories. So we give out grants for discussion grants, media grants, and research grants. And all of them can be funded at 2 different levels. We have mini grants that are for requests of $2,000 or less. And we have major grants that allow you to request up to $20,000. Among other things, all of our grants require a cost share match, which must equal or exceed the amount requested from South Dakota Humanities Council. And they also require a public discussion event held in South Dakota. And our grant guidelines give those detailed requirements as well as other requirements too. So I'm just kind of touching the surface here. As far as deadlines and when people can submit grant applications, the applications for the smaller grants can be submitted at any time throughout the year, and they're awarded as funding allows. But the larger major grants have 2 yearly deadlines, and those are October 15th of every year and February 28th of every year. And the next deadline is coming up very soon, in about a month, October 15th. And we're really happy this year to offer a virtual grant writing workshop to help applicants. This workshop is going to take place next Thursday, September 15th, from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Time. And it will introduce people, or anybody who's interested, to our grant opportunities and teach you how to submit a competitive proposal. And you'll find a Zoom link for that workshop on our September 15th happenings page on our website. It's called Happenings. It's our calendar, our event calendar. And so the Zoom link will be there if you click on that day. And we'll also be, I think we're still in the process of putting it on our grants webpage and out on social media as well, but we're beginning that out there. It's next Thursday. So I encourage anybody who's interested in writing a grant for the Humanities Council to join us that day, because I think it will give a lot of helpful information. And also, maybe even before that day, if anybody's interested in writing a grant, you should be sure to visit our grants page at sdhumanities.org/grants. And if you go to our webpage, you'll see it there at the top. And it has more information about the grants and about submitting an application. And that page has our current grant guidelines and a lot of other really helpful information. So I am the contact person for all things major and mini grants, and I'm very willing and very happy to help you. I love to answer questions and talk people through the process, either on the phone or through email. So if you or anybody else is interested in this process, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And you'll find my email on that grants webpage as a means of contact. So let's see, I think I will pass the baton to Deb.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Deb Delaney, and actually Melinda and I are kind of the fraternal twins of the South Dakota Humanities Council, because we both work with grants in a slightly different way. Programs and data coordinator is my title, and in a nutshell, I work with quick grants. Melinda's major grants, I'm quick grants, and that's kind of an internal term. So you probably are more familiar with Speakers Bureau or One Book South Dakota discussions, Book Club to Go discussions, and Young Reader discussions. So that's all under the umbrella of quick grants. And then as far as the data portion, we have a customer relationship management platform called Salesforce. And Salesforce is really set up as a business model for customers and potential customers and sales if you have a product or a service. So we are a nonprofit portion of Salesforce. They have a nonprofit offering for Salesforce. And we're pretty much the same thing, except that we don't have customers. We have organizations across the state that we serve and we work with, and all of those organizations have key personnel in their organization. We have all of those in Salesforce. It's just a huge database. We have author presenters from the Festival of Books are in there. The exhibitors are in there. All of the grants are in Salesforce. So we can also pick and choose information to create reports for different ones of us in the staff who need certain information. So I'm kind of do all that. And let's see, I think we were supposed to kind of share what resources we had available and how to get involved. So I'll take a couple of minutes and I'm going to share my screen and kind of walk you through how to connect with the Speakers Bureau. So I'm going to share my screen now, and that is not it. I had it all set up, wouldn't you know?
You have all the permissions and all of that?
I do have the
co-host?
permission, but I don't see the windows available, and I have them open.
The internet doesn't want you today.
I guess not. Well, anyway, I guess I'll have to just talk you through it. Because this is not, oh, wait. Are you seeing our South Dakota homepage right now?
Nope, we just see you.
No, we just see me.
Let's see.
Are you just trying to show the website then?
Yeah.
Okay, just 1 second.
Can
I'll
you
see
do
if I
that?
can-
And then can I move around in it if you do that?
No, but I can
Oh, okay.
move around for you.
Oh, that would be wonderful. All right, let me know when you're there. Are you there? Okay,
Yep,
I see it.
So
Okay,
everybody
so
should be able to see the webpage.
if you just click on programs across the ribbon across the top there. All right, and this is where you want to go if you want to have a discussion or you want to find a speaker. So you have the book club to go and one book, and all of those are down there. So you can click on one of those when you want to go. Let's say, well, let's not leave there yet. Can you scroll down to program requirements? This is everything you need to know, all the details for applying for a grant, a quick grant, and then how to host a program, all of those information there. And it really should read all of that before you apply so that you kind of know the parameters, and it really helps you understand what you're doing. And then the clicks down there, the bars for the application and promotion, how to promote it, and then the audience evaluation for you to copy. You'll get that in your email paperwork, but there's another one there. Now, if you go back and hover back to the main page and hover, and you can see all of the programming that we have. If you will go to Speakers Bureau. Excellent. And scroll down, you will see all of the scholars who are in our Speakers Bureau currently. And this changes per fiscal year. So on November 1st, we'll have some new faces and some of your favorites will still be there. And if you want to scroll back up, Carolyn, to just the beginning of this, there, right where it says SDHC Scholars, down there a little bit, you'll see different categories. For example, click on America Old West. That will bring up all of the scholars who have anything to do with the American Old West and what they do. And if you will Control F, Carolyn, and pop up right up there. Let's say that you're in Sioux Falls. You want someone for the American Old West, but you live in Sioux Falls. Your organization is in Sioux Falls, and you want someone close by. Carolyn, would you type Sioux Falls in there, please? You'll see right away that there are two people from Sioux Falls who do programs on the American Old West. You have Wayne Fanabust and Arlie Fadness. So click on Arlie. If you click on his photo or else more information, it brings up his contact information and every program that he provides and a video as well. So that kind of gets you around there. And then you just, after you've read the directions and all the details you need to apply, you've hit your application button and you're ready to fill it out. You know who you want, you're ready to go. And as soon as that is submitted, I get an email and I know right away that it's come in and I start working on it. So that's everything. I probably spend 80% of my time doing email, answering email and talking to people on the phone. And I just love answering questions, just like Melinda said, to help you with whatever part of the process you don't understand or you need clarified. I'm really happy to help. So ask away if you have any questions when the time comes. Thanks. Let's see. I'm going to pick Jennifer.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Jennifer Widman. I am the director of the South Dakota Center for the Book, and that's a title that a lot of times people don't really understand. So I can tell you a little bit about it. I'm in a somewhat unique position at the Humanities Council. I mean, I am 100% full-fledged South Dakota Humanities staff, but the Center for the Book also has kind of a unique connection to the Library of Congress. There is a National Center for the Book at the Library of Congress, and there is now a Center for the Book in all 50 states, DC, and several territories. I think there are either 54 or 55 centers for the book, many of whom just got together last weekend at the National Book Festival in Washington, DC. So the centers for the book in the different states run very differently. There's a great number of them that are housed in humanities councils like ours is. There are also a great number that are housed in state libraries. And then there are some that are completely independent, standalone organizations. So it's kind of unique, but the main thing is that we are to promote the cultural and literary heritage of our states, and to support reading and writing in our states. And in South Dakota, we do that through a number of different events and programs, but the ones that are probably the most known, well, number one, most known is probably the South Dakota Festival of Books. And that is coming up in exactly 2 weeks, not that anybody's counting. It will be September 22nd in Sioux Falls. We have activities for young readers, and then 23rd through the 25th right here in Brookings. We are celebrating our 20th annual festival, so we're very excited. Same year that we're celebrating SDHC's 50th anniversary, so we're going to have a big party. There's a lot to celebrate. We are especially excited to be back in person because in both 2020 and 2021, we had the festival virtually due to the pandemic and various concerns. So we're very excited to be getting back together to do some reminiscing. I think it's going to be a little bit like a family reunion. I think a lot of authors who go there regularly as well as attendees will tell you that. So that's one of our big events, and I will talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We also have the One Book South Dakota program that is also in its 20th year. We do that as a statewide read. We have discussions throughout the state where groups can borrow books from us, and they can also get a scholar to lead their discussion if they would like, and libraries, historical societies, book clubs do that. We also have the One Book author always come to the festival and do a keynote. That's one of our requirements, because we want people at the end of this summer of discussions to be able to meet and hear from that person in person. So this year it's Nick Estes with the book, Our History is the Future. He has been on Brainstorming in the past to talk about that, and he will be doing a keynote on Friday evening here in Brookings. Then about 2014, we expanded both the festival and the One Book program to incorporate a greater focus on young readers. We had always, since the beginning of the festival, we always had a track for children's and young adult literature. But in hopes of reaching young readers a little better, in 2014, we named our first title for the Young Readers One Book. And we had our first Young Readers Festival where we kind of broke out the children's and young adult authors on Thursday in one community and on Friday in the community where the rest of the festival is held. So when the festival is out in Deadwood, we also do a special day in Rapid City. When the festival is here in Brookings, we also do a special day in Sioux Falls. What we do with those books is a little bit different. We do make them available for discussions to library groups or schools throughout the state. But we have been building throughout the years to try to give more and more of those books away to third graders. And third graders was our chosen age. Actually, I think working in the second year, we kind of honed that as we were working with some educators from the Rapid City area schools and some other groups out in the hills who just talked about the importance of that third grade year as being, one of the sayings they often used is it's the year when children go from learning to read to reading to learn. And it's also a year when, the establishment of literacy is really important, and continuing the excitement is really important because, the kids are getting a little older and want to make sure that everything that they're doing is cool to their peers and things like that. We find that when we can bring in these authors and they can meet personally the author who wrote the book that they got to keep and take home, or just other books that they know of, or sometimes books that they haven't discovered yet, they get really excited. Both authors and illustrators give them kind of a role model and someone they can look at to say, oh, I could do that too. For instance, I remember in 2017, we had the illustrator Chris Van Dusen out in Deadwood. And one of the things he told the kids was, everybody's an illustrator. The difference between me and you is that I never quit drawing. Every kid is an artist, right? And he said, you just keep at it. The same thing with writing. So it's a really, I think, inspiring thing for the kids. And then we have other, literary programs that crop up here and there. There's definitely an other duties as assigned kind of aspect to the job when we have some special initiatives or things like that. Like a few years ago, we had our Voting Why It Matters initiative where we arranged a number of different virtual talks. So that's kind of the scope of what we do in terms of our literary events. But I want to say a couple things about the festival because it is so close. Your best resource for that is this printed festival guide that comes out in South Dakota Magazine. A lot of you probably saw that. It's also available in a lot of libraries, bookstores, coffee shops, and other places like that. I love this cover. It's based on a painting by a Sioux Falls artist, Jennifer White. And we will be auctioning the original painting off. Well, not auctioning. If you donate, you will get a chance to win that. And Jessica will talk about that more. But yeah, just really beautiful and celebratory. We're excited about this 20 years. A couple of things about the festival. We have kind of a double mission. One is that we want to bring in authors that are nationally known that South Dakotans might not otherwise get a chance to hear from. So we meet with publishers, we take applications, we look for who's on book tour, and we try to make about half of our roster national authors who are coming here to meet face to face with South Dakotans, because we really want to bring readers and writers together. But the other part of our mission is to support the great writing that's already happening here in South Dakota, because we really have a pretty vibrant literary community. And I think it's just getting more so as there become more avenues to publishing than there used to be. So we have lots of talent in all genres. And so we try to feature many authors, about half of our lineup, who either live in South Dakota, write about South Dakota, or have some kind of South Dakota tie. So in that way, we support that. We also do workshops, more intensive writing workshops, and a lot of craft talks at the festival, so that aspiring writers who, have a story, but they maybe haven't been able to get it on paper yet, have some chances to connect with established authors and learn the tricks of the trade and, figure out what they've done. So there are a lot of opportunities for networking at the festival too. Book signings, panel discussions, poetry readings. We always have an open mic with the South Dakota State Poetry Society. So people who maybe don't get a chance to read their work in public can practice and in a good environment. So we're really just trying to serve as many of South Dakota's readers and writers as we possibly can. And like I said, we'll be in Brookings the 23rd through the 25th. I want to put in a plug. We could still use volunteers. If you would like to drive authors around town or to and from the airport, if you would like to introduce authors before their sessions, if you would like to help people find where to go in the different buildings where we hold the festival, go to that sdbookfestival.com and you will see that there is a link to our easy, quick online volunteer application. We welcome all kinds of help, and I suspect you'll probably have a pretty good time chatting with the authors you get to meet that way. So come volunteer. You can be part of the festival in all sorts of ways. And even if you don't volunteer, come listen to the authors. Even if there's one you've never heard of before, you probably will find some great ideas and great books that you hadn't even expected. So that is my spiel. I believe next we should go to Stacy.
Hi, everybody. I am Stacy Chidowsha. I am the program assistant here at the Humanities Council. And basically what that means is that my role is to assist with and support all the various programs and projects we have here. Right now, of course, we're going Festival of Books full swings, like Jennifer said, in a couple weeks, who's counting. But we also, my primary focus right now is we have a collaboration with the Smithsonian Institution Traveling Exhibition Service. It's called Museum on Main Street. And it actually arrives at its first location, which is Brookings, tomorrow. So there's a lot going on. The title of this Museum on Main Street exhibition is called Crossroads: Change in Rural America. It's going to begin here in Brookings tomorrow at the South Dakota Ag Heritage Museum. And we're going to have it in South Dakota until next June. And in that time, it's going to travel from Brookings to Yankton, then to Sturgis, and then to Fort Sisseton. Of course, those dates are you can find those on the our Humanities Council webpage. It's going to be really cool. Like from the Smithsonian, 1/5 of all Americans live in rural areas. And half of the US museums are located in small towns. So with this exhibition, it allows those small towns to use Smithsonian resources and build a bigger exhibition and improve their own collections as well. It's really a neat opportunity for us. That's it's a lot more involved than I could possibly explain in this little bit of time. But in addition to the Crossroads exhibition, we also have more Smithsonian collaborations coming up in the future. We're planning into 2025 already. The Mom's exhibitions, Museum on Main Street exhibitions, have a 3-year planning program. So that's kind of what we're doing now. We have one starting tomorrow, and then we have, going into the future. In addition to the Museum on Main Street, I kind of got my hands in everything as much as I can, actually. You hear people say a lot of times, well, I have to go to work tomorrow. Well, I'm fortunate enough to say I get to go to work tomorrow. I love what I do here. And I love the people that I work with. It's just a unique opportunity to get involved with things that make a difference. I wanted to touch on the other thing we're working on with what Jennifer said with the Young Readers Program. I'm actively sending out about just short of 8,000 books to 3rd graders in the state. So that's an ongoing process as well. Just kind of in a nutshell, that's what I do here. I'm going to pass it on now to Jessica.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica Story. I'm the development coordinator for the council, and I have been here just a little over 2 years. I started in August 2020. And as development coordinator, kind of 2 main streams that I do. I make sure that we're doing an excellent job communicating all of our opportunities, all of our programs, all of our grants to the community, doing some community awareness, community education. And then, of course, with all of these wonderful programs, grants, opportunities, as a nonprofit, we have to find that funding somewhere. So I do ask our community members, our supporters, to donate to the South Dakota Humanities Council. If you get those lovely weekly email updates, that's me. Or if you are on our mailing list, you'll get letters that I help with the help of everybody in the office to put together to make sure that we're covering all the main points that all of our various initiatives have going on at any given time. So Jennifer mentioned that if you donate during the festival, you will be entered in a drawing for the cover art. So I'll give you a few details about that. And let me just post a few web links here in the chat for you as well. So a good place to find out what's going on with the Humanities Council is our happenings link on the website. Also our blog, which is underneath the happenings drop down. And also our donate page if you do want to support us or want to give during the festival. So here is our cover art. I believe, is it acrylic or oil, Jennifer?
I'm pretty sure it's acrylic.
Yeah.
I think it's
I wanna say
acrylic. So acrylic on canvas. I do not have dimensions, but very gorgeous piece of work. For every $50 that you donate during the festival, that enters your name into the drawing. You can give online, you can give at our information booth at the festival itself. We will have donation stations set up. You can mail us a donation. And again, lots of different ways to support us, all available in more detail on the website. And yeah, like I said, I'm kind of here to just communicate what everybody has going on and ask for support from our humanities advocates. And I believe I am the last one.
Okay.
So I will turn it back over to Lawrence.
Well, thank you very much. That was a very good 50,000-foot view. But I can say from experience that there's so much under the hood of all of the different things that the Humanities Council does. And one of the things I think that gets overlooked in these presentations is how the public can benefit and participate. And I know you've talked a little bit about the programs that you have and how people can interact with it, but I actually would like to go to our the rest of our panel here and see if there are ways that they could suggest that citizens can interact with the Humanities Council. Some of them may have actually done so. Some of them may have participated in grants or programs that the council has and may be able to talk about that. So is there anybody on our panel? I know we have lots of people on the Facebook end too that are not on this, so maybe they could send something to Carolyn and she can put it in our chat. But anybody who has done a program or done something with the Humanities Council, I think we at least have a couple of scholars. Maybe they could talk about some of the things that they have done. Anybody? Well, while they're building up their courage to say or refreshing their memories, I'm noticing I have to work harder at that these days. I'd like to go back to, oh, there's Misty. Go ahead, just turn on your mic. There you go.
I just want to say thank you. I have been a librarian now for a little over 3 years and joined right before COVID. And it was interesting to hear how a few of you on the South, as a part of the Humanities Council, started during that time frame and the challenges that it presented. But I just feel very honored to be a part of the opportunities that have been presented. Everything from next week, we're having our One Book South Dakota discussion. I get to attend the Festival of Books, and I've never attended before in person. I was exposed to it a little bit, and I feel like this is true for libraries as well. I feel like there is so much, but people don't know everything that there is because they get busy and they don't recognize that. So I feel like the libraries are having the same challenges that perhaps the Humanities Council has in terms of how do you market? How do you let people know everything that's involved and available to them? And there's so much. I come from a marketing background years ago before taking a small pause break and being a stay-at-home mom, but I look at it and that marketing has always taught us consistency, frequency, continual presence, and you're doing a lot of the things right. And of course, budget is always that big one. I mean, obviously, if we could be out on the radio and TV and doing all those things on a continual, regular basis, we would. And so it's figuring out how to navigate that the best way we can financially. But I guess I'm not really having any questions at this time. I just wanted to say that I've gotten to know some of you through this process and this weekly discussion group. I try to attend as regularly as I can, and I've really enjoyed that. And it just makes me, I've never been one that's necessarily given to the South Dakota Humanities Council financially, but at this point, the more I get involved and the more I see, the more I want to start pulling out the wallet. And I think that's with anybody. Once they start being touched by their heartstrings and the emotional connection that you make with people, and they're like, yes, we need this. This is what we need. And they start maybe showing up at one program. Those people that haven't given a dime will start giving you money, you know, and so it's for whatever that's worth, the feedback.
Very good feedback. And I'm especially impressed and happy that a librarian has stepped up to talk about that connection, because I see the possibilities of even stronger connection between what the librarian's missions are and the library mission in the state and the humanities. They're really very closely, their missions are so closely aligned that it just screams to, well, let's see what else we can do. You know, it's not that there is none, but I think between the book festival and the general thrust of both the Humanities Council and the libraries in general, I think there's so much that could be done, you know. And do you guys still have the annual or biannual librarian conference?
I guess I'm still unmuted. We do. It's actually right after the Festival of Books, and it'll be in Brookings. So the 28th through the 30th. So that would be a fantastic place for the Humanities Council, or opportunity, if they haven't already, to have a booth there and a presence to make those connections with the librarians. I'm surprised there are not more librarians on these weekly calls. I really am.
Right, man, it would be a great thing to not only get them involved as librarians, but I could see a program in these libraries where they all have, many of them anyway, have conference rooms, and just, hey, join on these weekly conferences. You have a chance to hear people of what your neighbors are thinking, and you can contribute something too. And between that and getting feedback from them, it's like, well, what other kind of things would you like to talk about? Because all of the ideas don't have to come from us, and yeah, that it's a match waiting to be made in heaven. Right now it's just on earth, but it has potential.
I completely agree. And my heart and passion is right with the humanities. I just love it. I love everything that you do. And for feedback, I'm going to the Festival of Books partly too, because I'm interested in the writing, and I see a lot of topics on healing and trauma, and how journaling and writing and poetry can heal, and the art. It's a form of art, and I want to bring that to our library. I don't know if I'll be the one leading it, or maybe start it off with a speaker from the Bureau and kickstart it, and then bring that to our community, because not everybody can take the time off from work or can travel. And so we can bring that right into the town of Winter, small town community, and bring that here and bring it to the people. It's an outreach.
Yes, excellent. Anyone else have some input about how we might better serve you, the public, or maybe something you've done and what kind of experience you've had with the South Dakota Humanities Council?
Lawrence?
Yes, go ahead,
This
Jace.
This is Jace DeCory.
Okay.
I just want to, I guess, give a personal testimony that it has been such a positive experience to be involved with the South Dakota Humanities for a number of years. First, as a scholar and giving presentations. That's how I initially became involved many years ago. And it was so fulfilling that I really appreciated all the support and the people that from all around the state of South Dakota that came to listen to presentations and that were wanting to know more about, in my instance, Native American culture, American Indian women, American Indian philosophy, and so forth, history and art. And so after listening and having people come to those presentations, I also started going to the Festival of the Book in Deadwood, and that became something that was very exciting and look forward to every year, or every other year, I guess it is. It's Brookings and Deadwood, and that's been a blessing, I think, in the state of South Dakota to have people to meet with one another, those of us that love reading and love books, and to share words with one another. It's been really a positive experience, I think, for South Dakotans to have these opportunities. And so then being involved on the board, that's been an interesting experience as well. I've enjoyed meeting with colleagues and a little bit of decision making, but mainly listening and hoping for the best for all the people in South Dakota. So the humanities has a lot to offer, and I'm a cheerleader on the West River side, and will continue to be a supportive of the efforts of the South Dakota Humanities. And thank you for allowing me to say a few words today. I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you, Jace. Thank you. Anyone else that has some experience they can share with the South Humanities Council? Lee?
Well, mine's going to be a different take because I am coming late every day because of obligation. But anyway, I have worked quite closely with Alzheimer's Association and with the assisted living or memory care. And what I have observed and used, having had a husband who had it, is the need for these humanities, the arts, the music, the writing, even books, but how it can be adapted for their enjoyment. I used to do a lot of reading to people from another life I had that were in that situation. They couldn't read anymore, reading books, but allowing them to do the artwork and then display it as an event, whether it be crafts or drawings, paintings, anything that they can share. Even, how do I say, not only just people with Alzheimer's, but with people when they lose some of these abilities. And it's been so helpful to treat them as humans and the need for that avenue of the fine arts. And thanks for all that you have done. And yes, I came, it was during COVID, and I thought, what's humanities? I used to teach that. Okay. So anyway, it was a bad word, by the way, and the community didn't like it. They thought that was bad. So we changed it to language arts, social studies. The name has always changed.
So tell me a little bit about that. When you say it was a bad thing, what was bad about humanities?
I don't know. They didn't like that name because they were used to history, geography.
Oh, just because that's what they're used to calling it.
They were used to calling it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And, that's kind of a shakeup.
Yeah.
And anything different, but, that's the least that we could do. But nobody really realized that we just changed the name.
Sure. I know that there seems to be a few people who are anti-human, so I just wondered if it was that crowd that was the anti-humanists.
Well, I think it was before the word came out that way. Thank you very much for what you've done, by the way, Lawrence.
Oh, you bet. Thank you.
You betcha.
Anyone else that has something that they could share with us about their experience with the South Dakota Humanities Council? Anybody else? Well, while you're thinking about it, I have a few.
Lawrence?
Oh, yes. Oh, Mary, go ahead.
Yeah, I had the good fortune of being given a travel grant one summer. I was teaching a course, Literature of the American West, and I had an environmental focus on rivers and what was happening, particularly with the Missouri River, because that's the one that runs through the state. And so the grant gave me the ability to travel from St. Louis all the way. I didn't go all the way out to the ocean, but to travel that trip up the river, not by boat, and take notes, visit museums, find books that I didn't know were out there. And it just really gave me an opportunity to make my course on rivers that much richer because I stood there. I saw those places where Lewis and Clark, for instance, camped. I saw the places where the Native American communities, tribal communities lived along the river before the flooding of the river. So I was always appreciated what they gave me that enabled me to make my course just that much better.
So tell me about what you teach.
I don't teach anymore, but I was teaching a course called Literature of the American West at South Dakota State University. And during my time there, they designated certain classes to be to have some kind of environmental focus. And Literature of the American West was chosen as one of those courses. And so I was thinking about what would I like to talk about environmentally. And I'm a river rat. I grew up, close to the Missouri River and around the Chamberlain Reliance area. And so I was just very interested in what happened, what was the river like before the damming, what happened after the damming, and it was dramatic. It was very dramatic. And so we just talked about, it got the students to think about decisions that we make and the impact they may have on the future. And my most triumphant moment was when a civil engineer, we read a book called Bucking the Sun by Stegner. No, not Stegner. It'll come to me in a minute. But anyway, he said, I'm an engineer, and I've always thought if we should do something, we should. But now I think before we do that, we ought to think long term. If we dam the river, what will that mean 50 years from now? What will it mean 100 years from now? So he said, I'm not so certain we should jump into projects just because we can without some thinking about what will this lead to. And I thought, okay, you can retire now. That's as good as that's going to get for me. So.
Oh, you
that's what
mean
that
bringing
was.
that person, bringing that person in to have that conversation?
That was a student.
Oh, that was a student.
That was
Oh,
a
wow.
student.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a student. I did bring in a really terrific young man from the American Rivers Association. He would come up from Omaha and talk to the students, and he was working on projects to protect endangered fish and birds that live along the Missouri. I had poets come in. I even had my brother Kevin come in and talk about the river. Kevin Wooster, he came in and talked about the river. So it was I just felt like it gave them a chance to look at, when it comes to the environment, we have to think long term. Maybe the decision is right. Maybe we needed to dam that river, right? But were we prepared for what the consequences might be of doing that? And we certainly weren't prepared or didn't care about the consequences for the native people along the river. And maybe it was indifference, I don't know. So that was my moment of triumph as a teacher, when a civil engineer said, maybe we have to think a little bit before we jump into a project.
Yes, yes.
So that's it.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mary. Anyone else? Anyone else? Well, I think what has happened is people have brought out some of the really important things that the Humanities Council has done and continues to do, and some ways that they have, they can, even going forward, what we could do to make better connections. I'd like to turn now to the staff to ask them to talk about maybe what are some things going forward that you're planning that's new, and maybe some of the things that you think maybe areas you would like to get into but just don't have exactly the programming right now to do it, or not, or the people to do. Can you think of some areas in which you think better connections could be made, different programming, or anything different, as long as you're all here on the line?
I'm just going to jump in and start because I might have to leave a minute early, but when you bring that up and we talk about this weekly program that some of you have mentioned, this in our veterans programming are a couple of the bigger things that I work on. And I would just like to say and just tell everybody, like, word of mouth is a huge way for us to get known out there, and tell us your ideas. Like, if you have an idea, by all means, shoot us an email, call us, come into our office. We love to have visitors. We don't get nearly enough, and just give us your ideas and we'll see what we can do. I mean, you never know what's possible. This show here started as just an idea of, hey, let's have this conversation about what was going on. And this is when like a big couple of the bigger conversations we've had was like the George Floyd murder and just some of these different things, and they all just started as ideas. So tell your friends, bring your friends to a show, send me ideas. What do you guys want to talk about? Like, maybe we need to have more conversations about resources that are out there for librarians, or maybe we need to have more conversations about how scholars can get involved, or maybe we need to just have more conversations about some of the major grant programs that are going on, the projects that these people are doing, whatever your ideas are. I mean, we want to talk about the things that are important to you guys and what you want to talk about. So by all means, please do send your ideas and your suggestions, and we'll see what we can do. And then the veterans programming, I'm hoping, and we're trying to just make that a bigger, better, broader program, reach more people, get more people involved. Supporting our veterans is incredibly important to me as a veteran. And so any ideas that you guys have for anything like that, any of you that are veterans or no veterans and have ideas of ways that we can support them, I'm very open to hearing those ideas. But word of mouth is just huge for the Humanities Council. So tell your friends, bring your friends, even if you just share one thing and say, hey, yeah, I got this from the Humanities Council, check it out. Because I think it's been said a couple times today that a lot of people just don't know. They just don't know what we can do, what we do, you know, and that we're here and all the different programs and what they all entail. So.
All right, thanks, Callie. And you had your hand up a minute ago.
I did. I was going to mention a new program that we have starting this week, which is letters, columns that we're making available to the South Dakota Newspaper Association for distribution, free distribution across the state to newspapers. These are letters that are written by David Adler, who is a constitutional scholar and specialist. And he writes in a very apolitical manner about particular cases that we may have heard something about in the Supreme Court, or in the future, he's going to write a column. His columns will focus on particular Supreme Court justices. So it's a really nice way to provide some more civics information across the state. And again, nonpartisan. We're not trying to be on this side or that side. We're just trying to say, hey, here's a story that you may not have heard about the couple the loving couple who were the first one, Black and white couple to be allowed to be married, for instance, and the background on that, or the history of the civil Labor Day movement. So I think really wonderfully interesting and informative and a good addition to our quest to promote civil conversation in the state of South Dakota. I'm also looking forward to finding new ways to keep supporting the Young Reader program. Jennifer spoke about that. It's a wonderful, important program that we will continue going forward with, but we really will need funding for it. So that's a place where Jennifer and Jessica and I and everybody else on the staff will be involved in saying to our donors that this is worth your support. So that's a way that we're going to need help from a lot of people too. But really excited about David Adler. Ask your newspaper to pick up that column. We are providing all the funding for it, and it is available through the South Dakota Newspaper Association.
Excellent, excellent. Any ways, Carolyn mentioned word of mouth. Any other ways that you think that ordinary citizens or organizations like libraries or schools could better utilize the services that the Humanities Council has already?
I was going to add a little bit to what Carolyn said. We have an audience evaluation that the attendees fill out, and there is a question on there. What would you like to see us, address, or what would you like to see more of? And we've had discussions now to really look at those more closely and to, see what we can do to bring more of that, some what everyone wants to see. Another thing is there are several scholars in our speakers bureau that don't necessarily see the light of day very often, and they have wonderful programs, very interesting programs. And we've talked a little bit about maybe highlighting them in some way, boosting them so that others can know, well, hey, this person does this, and this would be a great addition to your event, and fall right in line and let people know a little bit more about what we really have to offer and who's out there willing to come to their organization and present.
And I think that's a wonderful idea. And there are so many programs that I know like the Chautauqua programs that would be really useful, not only for schools, but also churches and, civic organizations, and bringing that kind of thing maybe to some fair or festival that you have that will bring a whole different aspect and bring some education to the entertainment and create that edutainment point product in something that you're doing. Well, we're right at 11:30 now, so that means that it's all over now. We are going to pass it on till next weekend. And next weekend, what are we doing next weekend? Where's Carolyn?
Carolyn had to go, so now
Okay.
I'm gonna manage things, but that's okay because next week is our festival look back in honor of the 20th annual Festival of Books. We're having 3 authors, all of whom have South Dakota ties. It includes Patrick Hicks, Jim Reese, and Christine Stewart Nunez. And they will just be talking about, all of them are people who've been at the festival as presenters many times and have some great memories they want to share, and just to talk about why they think the festival is important and how it supports and enriches the community of readers and writers in South Dakota. So I think it'll be fun to hear what they have to say and what stands out to them in their memories.
Sure. All right. Well, that sort of brings us to a close for today, and we'll see you guys next week, same time, same station.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Bye.